All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6 p.m. I'd like to call to order the monthly board meeting for the month of March. Tracy, call roll, please.
Trustee Gaffney?
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Manheim?
Here.
Trustee McManus?
Here.
Trustee Seifert?
Present.
You can please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comment? No, just want to check. All right. That'll take us to our reports. We will start with the finance report, which Chief is going to give us the highlights.
Our accountant couldn't be here tonight, but he did have a statement he wanted me to read. I'm going to read it verbatim. At 83% of fiscal year complete, our revenue is up 8% from the prior year, exclusive of transfers or debt proceeds. Property taxes are at 100% of the budget, up 10% from the prior year. Ambulance revenue to date is at 73% of budget, inclusive of GEMT, a 12% increase from last year. In overall operating expenditures, we are at 84% of the budget and up 4% from last year. Wages at 82% of budget increased 3% from last year, and we paid 166% of GEMT based on additional invoicing from the state due to now quarterly billing. Our debt service has been paid in full for the year at $1.8 million, and capital expenditures at $3.3 million are at 61% of the budget. We have surpluses across all operating funds and a planned reduction of prior year bond proceeds for station build in the capital fund, which basically just means we spent a lot of money on a new fire station and we knew that was going to happen. I was told I better translate that for people.
All right.
Having said that, I'll go through the slides real quickly. Who's running my slides? Tracy? Okay. Revenue highlights, we kind of covered this. We are at 90% of total budget. We probably won't see much else coming in the way of property taxes, but we still got a couple months worth of ambulance fees, so we'll see that number go up a little bit. Thank you. Good catch. This page shows our percentage of budget. There's not a whole lot of additional information here beyond what I told you, so let's move on to the next slide. Not surprisingly, most of our income comes from property taxes at about 78%, with the second biggest category being ambulance fees at just over 17%. Our ambulance collections, I'm pretty happy with the average right down here of $119,276. Not quite what we'd hoped for at $136,000 for the year, but we got a couple months to come in yet, and I'm hoping that'll bump up a little bit. The good news is it's significantly higher than it has been in the past 2 years. Moving on to expenditures. Another thing that I'm kind of proud of is the 76% of total budget at 84% for the year. We are actually coming in under budget. Operating expenditures are right on the mark at 84%. Salaries are right on the mark as well at 82%. Contractual services running just a little bit high, but those are usually a little bit smaller numbers that we're dealing with, so they don't affect the overall budget as much. Vehicle maintenance and fuel, that's always a wild card. It's coming in a little bit high, but not too terrible. I'm pretty happy with it. Capital outlay and debt service, we're at 71% of budget. As mentioned before, we've paid off our debt service for the year. We just have some of the remaining payments to be made for the Station 3 construction. And here we see the percentages of our budget. The actual expenditures at 84% of budget is the number that I'm concerned with right now. And like I said before, it's right on the money from where we are at this point in the year. And there we go again. Personnel at 81% is, of course, our highest expenditure, with others falling in variously. That I won't go into that. I definitely won't go into that. This graph, it basically just shows that our revenues, the blue line, are higher than our expenditures, which means we're actually putting away money rather than running it down. So that's a good thing. You always want to have your revenues higher. And our investments show we've got about $3.3 million in the bank right now in our various accounts, with the big one being our Schwab investment account, about half of our our liquid funds. Any questions for the accountant?
All right. Yeah, thank you. We'll stay with you for.
Okay.
I
Everyone okay over there? Okay.
The chief's report.
Okay, chief's report. Staffing, I know you don't like to hear about staffing, but it's pretty important to me. We've got 4 members have been approved to now function as EMT engine operators. That's a good thing because now we don't have to hire back engine operators at overtime rates, which keeps our budget down, which makes me happy when I give my financial report. Likewise, we've got 4 paramedic applicants currently being interviewed and or processed for employment. Another good thing. We have historically had trouble keeping enough paramedics on staff, and it looks like we're finally starting to get ahead of the curve on that. So a win for the district. Operations, we had at least 1 significant auto accident. It was a vehicle fire. Initially came in as a vehicle fire, but it turned out it was a result of a single vehicle collision. Apparently the vehicle had been traveling at a high rate of speed, crashed into a light post and neighboring entrance sign, resulting in the fire. The occupants of the vehicle were not found. They had actually left the scene before we arrived. We found out later that they had transported themselves to the hospital with some fairly significant injuries. For our part, crews were quickly able to extinguish the fire, search nearby for victims, which we did not find immediately. Fleet, not a whole lot going on this month. We had a little bit of maintenance. We got some tires replaced. So ambulance 52's got a new set of tires. Engine 1812 had a new set of tires put on, and we fixed a small coolant leak in 1812. As far as training, on the Bureau side, BC Almeida, Battalion Chief Almeida, our fire prevention director, is going to be attending a fireworks training for code officials class in preparation for this year's fireworks shows. We have an incident command essentials workshop class that several of our officers are going to be attending, trying to get those people moving up and ready to function as incident command. And Lieutenant Siaki, our training officer, is working on recertification of multiple members in various disciplines per OSFM requirements. Any questions for me?
They go down to IFSI or?
Probably not. There's the recertifications are all done in-house, and it's more a matter of kind of tracking and logging in your hours so that it can be funneled down to the state so that it can be recertified. As far as Almeida's class, there is a fireworks class being offered in the area that he'll be attending.
Very good. Okay. All right, attorney's report.
Very good, and good evening, everybody. Brief report for you this evening, as the General Assembly hasn't really produced much in the way of anything concrete that would affect your operations. There are a few bills that I'm monitoring, but again, nothing's been assigned to committee or anything that would signal to me that they're interested in moving forward yet. That'll likely change as we get even deeper into the session. What I did bring for you this evening was a handout piggybacking off of last month's conversation. This is going to summarize all of the potential deadlines for referenda filings, so that you'll have a better sense of what you need to do as far as planning when we get to that discussion as well. You'll hear from me in just a bit under item 6A, but otherwise it's my report for this month.
Any questions for John? Okay. All right, that takes us to item D, the President's report. So I know last month we talked about the evaluation for the chief. Mr. McManus kind of spearheaded the work and got a document put together. Him and I looked it over. So my thought was that I'll have Tracy send it out to the trustees and chief tomorrow. And then if you guys can get it back to me like the 18th or 19th.
Did you get the revision after we had sat down and talked?
Yeah.
You did? You were okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I printed out.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Can I just look at it?
You can. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the last one I printed off. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, so if you guys can just get that back to me, like I said, next Wednesday or Thursday, Then I would use the weekend to compile everybody's feedback and then set up a time with the chief and another trustee to do the evaluation, and that way we can have it buttoned up by the end of the month. Sorry for everybody. Okay. And that's all
April 18th?
March
Or
18th.
that's-
Yeah, roughly. I mean, I'm not really holding it. It just, I figured a week for everybody. I think it looks, when you guys see it, it should be pretty straightforward. You know, there's an area for comments or some goals and stuff.
Well, it looks a lot, the packet looks a lot bigger than what it really is as far as the question, so it's like 8 or 9 pages, but if you look at it, it's not that,
Correct. Yeah, each page is basically a topic.
yeah.
So, and it just kind of highlights it. So it's really like Nick said, it's not it looks like it's long, it's
Yeah.
11 pages, but it's really not.
Right,
It shouldn't take,
not long.
an hour maybe to, fill everything out and then.
Comments and stuff, yeah.
So I'll send it in a Word document, so you guys can just fill it out, make it easier. And then I'll compile everything.
Structure environment later crossed Bartlett at 1303 Chevrolet Road. Here due with the medic for a patient with a cut finger. Structure environment later crossed Bartlett at 1303 Chevrolet Road. Here due with the medic.
And we'll get that wrapped up by the end of the month. Okay? Alright, that's all I have for, President's report. That'll take us to the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would like to hold?
I have a question. Last month's comments and the way it was written, I just want clarification on it.
Mhm.
Please. I'm sorry, it looks like I forgot a few things tonight. There was something, shoot. One of the, in the minutes, it said something about that I mentioned that the censure was illegal or something about, did anybody read the minutes?
It was I think the language was unenforceable.
Was what?
Unenforceable?
No, it said it was illegal.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of those minutes?
Yeah.
There is it.
I just want clarification on that. Thank you.
About halfway down.
Trustee McManus asked whether the current board will enforce the censure resolution, which is not legally binding. So, my question is, are you saying the censure resolution is not legally binding?
You said that it was not legally binding.
How about, I let John opine, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, the censure resolution, in my view, is legally binding insofar it was passed by the board at the time. So it's still in force. I
But
think
you-
is the question more about the drafting of it, where I can see maybe what you're saying, where it's drafted in such a way where it's maybe a commentary where the minutes are saying that the censure resolution is not legally binding.
right.
Okay. I think what it meant to pick up was the.
So
statement that it
here's the issue I have with you, I guess, is that you told me more than one occasion that there was a previous board that had enforced that censure. At this current board, it would be up to them if they chose to continue honoring that censure.
That's true, yes, I mean, if the board so desired, it could repeal the censure resolution, but as of now, it hasn't. So, that was an old regime, and this new one could come to a different conclusion, but that's gonna be up to the board members as they sit here today. So as of right now, certainly the old censure resolution is in place.
No, I understand that. Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
Other than that, I think that was the only thing I had idea actually.
Yes.
I just had a question.
Sure. You good then?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items A through C?
So,
Second.
Hebert. Tracy, take the roll.
Trustee Gaffney,
yes.
trustee Kennedy,
Yes.
trustee McManus.
Yep.
Trustee Seifert,
Yes.
trustee Mann.
Yes. All right, motion passes. We don't have anything for action tonight. So that takes us to item 6, which is the discussion of the trustee manual, which John provided us a copy of. I will let John.
Why, thank you. Yeah, so what I prepared for you today is what I think that you ought to adopt when we have this on the agenda for action next time. The document I sent to you last time contained chapters 1 and 2 of more or less our stock policy manual. You all subscribe to Lexipol, and therefore a lot of the stuff in chapter 1 is already going to be in Lexipol. So there's no point in you all creating a new manual that's going to be duplicative or in some cases slightly different than what is in Lexipol. What I therefore recommend is that we isolate chapter 2 only, make it for your adoption, and it's a document that you all as a board will maintain. This is the stuff that governs how you all interact, like what you prescribe as far as agenda posting, special meeting calling, anything regarding your conducting of the board meetings, officer elections, that sort of stuff. Chapter 1, on the other hand, talks about more operational things such as like your social media policy, investments, and things of that nature. So again, chapter 2 is what I've given to you today. There have been a few changes since I sent out that original document to you, and if you want to flip to section 215, this is rules of order. And you'll see that these are all very minor changes, but I did change section 215A, the agenda. In our stock policy manual, we prescribed just a template form for an agenda. I deleted that because you all have a very long ensconced agenda template, so I didn't want to mess with that at all. All this is that we will prepare an agenda. Then there was also a change to the public comment portion of subsection F, Rule 6, which is on page 17. Unlike many of my groups, you all have prescribed your public comment policy by an ordinance. This change just reflects that the ordinance is going to control here. And finally, on section 216, there has been a change to the Open Meetings Act that would allow trustees to attend if they were called away because of military service. They could do that remotely, by phone, by Zoom, whatever. And I changed the applicable point person to the president because that's how you conduct your operations as to the how meetings run anyway. So like I say, very light edits on this front. I didn't receive any other feedback. So I think next time what I will do is clean up this document. You all can approve this as your rules, another moniker, bylaws, and then we can look and see if there's any gaps to fill with the chapter 1 stuff, which we will place into Lexipol.
I do have some comments,
Yes,
if
sir.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
As far as, in 215, I don't have the ordinance of the Open Meetings Act, or not the Open Meetings Act, the public comment in front of me, but by reading this, it says that the person wishing to speak shall sign in. Does the ordinance say otherwise?
I don't believe so, but we ought to just nuke that sentence anyway, because a lot of times I don't have boards who actually enforce the signing in provision anyway.
And then, once again,
And we'll just leave that as the person wishing to speak shall raise his or her hand in a signal to the president. That way, like we do at meetings, is anybody interested in making public comment? Audience member, raise hand.
The other thing, the other one was in 2-14, the Open Meetings Act designee. Now, I could be wrong, or I might have not been here, but did we actually officially designate someone to be the Open Meetings Act designee?
I have a memory of that, but it may have been under the old board. That may be a topic that we wish to revisit. Now we'll give a new lineup.
He's
Oh, very good.
But there was no discussion
Mhm.
I don't recall the discussion amongst the board, you just took it, I just want to make sure this is clarified, that it's done either this way, or if it's just assumed that the president's gonna take that position.
And just to be clear, we're talking about two different things. The Open Meetings Act training is something that you all need to do at least once.
Right.
But the Open
Yeah,
Meetings
that's what
Act designee is the one who is the point person for any OMA complaints or interacting with the PAC on OMA issues, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they need to,
I would suggest that it be the president, simply because it's,
okay,
A
then we need to
unified
write that as a
thing.
president, I don't have a problem with that,
I don't either.
and, yeah, I guess it would be important if you did.
I think as a housekeeping matter, we ought to just put that on the agenda, just to put a clear line in the sand on where we
Yeah,
stand with
I
it.
think that's a good idea.
Because I do believe we did that some time ago, but it wasn't with this board.
Yeah, I don't recall, I remember I asked the question and I was told it was somebody that, but anyway, yeah, we could maybe change it. to
Yeah.
where It is the president.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
We would, okay. So we can vote on them next month, then, or along with this.
It'll be corollary.
Back to kind of what, the next, about the, addressing the board. I know we talked about in the beginning, reading a statement. Kind of like we used to do in the school board. Is that something that we should include?
I have several boards that actually include that on the agenda itself,
Yeah.
which may be useful. That way everybody's on the same page as to what the public comment policy is.
Do you want me to send you that one?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd be happy to.
All right, I'll send that to you, and then you can include it. Okay. Will you send me that copy too, and then I can look at the one I have, and then I can compare them, maybe put something together and send it down. Right.
If I happen, like I said, I left half my notes at home.
Mhm.
If I happen to find something that I had written down as
Yeah.
part of that, can I just send it to you?
You betcha.
And as long as it's not something, like I said, we're gonna have to vote on it anyway, we'll do it the next meeting.
Yeah, we can always flag any changes up until the minute we vote, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, if any trustees have any other comments, send them to John, copy me. But then that way, we can get everything in there, and then if we need to highlight anything like we did tonight, before we vote on it next month, we can do that. So anything else you guys see in the next couple of weeks, anything catches your eye, just send it away, right?
And then, just to be clear, there are some things in chapter 1 that I'll probably isolate and have you all approve separately to put into Lexipol or somewhere in that area. Lexipol's great. They're a national outfit though, so they sometimes lack context on local things. And we also have some homegrown policies that'll ease your way on certain things. Big one that comes to mind is our purchases using federal funds policy, which if you were to get a grant from the feds, in particular FEMA, they would look for very clear policy language on how you're going to procure things. So if you don't have that already, you would have to scramble to get a special meeting on the books to apply for the grant, to make sure you get the grant monies. Lexipol wouldn't track that kind of thing because they just don't know, right? So those little things, I'll also try to pull out of there, and maybe we can also address those in the April meeting as well.
Okay.
But it should be relatively lightweight.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right. All right, that takes us to new business. Are there any new business from trustees? Everybody good?
As far as new business.
Good, Nick? All right. We don't have closed session tonight. So then, it is 6:24. Do I have?
No, wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute, you said new business. and
Yes.
rules. Looking at the agenda, normally you say that if trustees have anything.
yeah, new business.
Okay, okay, I do have.
Okay, what do you got?
First of all, after reviewing your first draft that you sent out, that put me to sleep,
Sorry.
that's okay. And then I saw the revised part, which was so much easier to get through. Because when I read the first draft, I went to the policy for the department's policy, which would be for the employees and such. There was a few things that I noticed that needs to be updated. One is the hiring practice. We no longer follow the state. Because technically the state has not approved the age, technically. So we have the hiring age of 18, correct? Okay, that needs to be changed.
Okay, because does the policy manual say something different?
Yes.
Okay.
What does the policy manual say?
It says it follows the state statute, which is 21,
We don't have anyone under 21 working here.
but it's still a policy that's written. It says that.
That says that we could.
Well, was discussion on it, as far as the hiring of 18, and they advertised it, if I remember right, on the website, that the age of hiring is 18. We've had this discussion, it was been a while back.
Yeah, and that's the Lexipol, again, this is where Lexipol can somewhat get tricky because it's a national outfit. They just presume that if it's a firefighter, they gotta be 21 and they end the discussion. They don't really know the nuance between like part-timers, which we could hire an 18-year-old part-timer if we wanted to. But, you know, if we want to relax that a little bit so we have the option to go south of 21 if we need to, might be a good idea. The other thing to consider is the legislature may be moving that date down for us, or the age down for us anyway, from 21 to 18. So
But it
we might want to
currently
leave that
hasn't,
out.
so.
What's
I
that?
just remember a couple of years ago, you and I had this discussion because it led to some other issues.
Okay.
Because I questioned it when it was on the website as far as the hiring, the age,
Right.
and.
And it said 18 online and,
Mhm.
okay. So up to the board. I mean, if you want to remove the 21 language because it isn't binding upon how you run things, that's fine. But we could also keep it there. It's totally up to you.
Or have a discussion at a later time about it.
Okay.
Maybe we have more information. That
What's
way everyone
the,
understands.
You-
That way everybody understands what we're talking about.
You mentioned legislation might
Yes.
change it anyways. What's your feel on the traction of that or timing?
I think it's got some legs because it's a product of a committee that was put together to address the hiring and retention crisis that firefighters or fire departments are facing right now. So it was kind of like we asked for this. I expect that they will run with it now that the recommendations are in. That all said, yeah, it's great in theory that we could start to hire 18-year-olds, but it's almost in practice going to be impossible because if you're looking for paramedics, good luck. They're not going to be age 18 when they have a paramedic's license. Is it a good idea to hire somebody that young to be in this position? That's another conversation that you all as a board would have to have. Now, all that means is that it opens the door for you to go and hire 18-year-olds. Doesn't mean you have to. But again, it's legislation. Who the heck knows if it's going to make it past the finish line for whatever reason.
Do you want to put it on for a discussion then?
Yeah, I think so. That way, anybody that's interested could look into it, and I'll look into it further. Maybe the chief can look into it further as well, as to clarify the whole situation,
When,
and make adjustments to the policy.
when would you like to have that discussion?
Next meeting. is fine.
April?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question revolving around that. If we're gonna say it has to be a 21-year-old, does that mean if we want to hire some shop help out there at high school, we could hire them?
There's cadet programs that they wouldn't have to be 18.
I'd like that program and talk about, say you want to get involved with the high schools.
I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could specify in the policy
Yeah.
that this applies to fire paramedics only.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, your shift personnel.
Are we all done with that topic? In reviewing this policy, I noticed that we don't have an AI policy.
That's pretty new territory.
Yeah.
We'll have to develop.
I
It's
think
also
that's something-
because, yes, I haven't generated one. That's on
Yeah,
my
I think-
2026 list of things to do. And I'll tell you, every time I sit down to do one, it's preempted the next day by some new advancement.
Okay, so that's-
So-
You don't auto-generate?
I can't know. Yeah, at the moment, I'm tempted to just feed it to AI and give me a policy, but yeah. I do have some things in the works, and that's something I'm going to present to you at some point this year. I just can't say when.
Okay, just so, okay. We get it done eventually now.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, refresh my memory, was there recently in the last year or two where legislation changed from anything over $20,000, it had to come to the board for us to vote on it?
No, so the internal procurement processes are all yours to determine, right? But the bidding threshold is where it has to go out to bid at $20,000.
Correct, okay.
Didn't
With
that
some
recently
exceptions.
change, or
That
wasn't
did.
it going to
That
It
change?
did,
changed to
yes. For a
25,000.
very narrow subset of things you're gonna buy. If you want to go to a original equipment manufacturer, then you can up that limit to $30,000.
Okay,
So if you're, for instance, gonna buy an ATV, right, and you go to the only dealer down the street that sells Polaris stuff, and it's $29,000, you can just buy it without bidding it.
in the policy manual, it states 20,000.
Correct. Yeah, now, that one, I'm not gonna pay too much attention to because I believe Lexipol already has procurement stuff taken care of.
Okay,
That's one of the things that they can track.
okay. So, once again, I may have more on that list at home.
That's fine.
But, those are a few things that, I think we need to look into. Excuse me for a second, I just want to make sure. Yeah, there's actually, I'm just just want an understanding. When it comes to, in the, backing up actually in our policy manual for the board, it talks about closed session meetings and recordings. After 18 months, we can vote on to delete that. What happens to the monthly meetings, recordings, and how long do we have to keep those?
Are you talking about the,
Like tonight, we're recording this meeting.
so those would be treated as ordinary local records, which would be, the disposal of which would be tracked by your retention schedule that's set forth by the archivist's office. It's a big old list of everything that you possibly have here, from medical records to W-2s to whatever, right? And it will have recordings of meetings, and it will say retain for X amount of years, then dispose of.
So if we have a recording from 10 years ago, would it still be here? Would we still have access to it here, or?
If you still have it, yes, but what you would want to look for is whether it's time to say goodbye to that one, if it's allowed under your retention schedule. So for instance, if the schedule says keep the things for 2 years and then you can get rid of it, you don't have to get rid of it, you could let it linger for 10 years. But at that point, I would suggest to you that maybe it's time to do a little bit of a refresh and get rid of the old stuff.
And we as a board would determine as far as the recordings of a regular meeting, or would it be from the state that would be the ones that would make that decision?
Yeah, whoever we would designate here would be the ones that correspond with the state and apply for a disposal certificate. You
And
give
typically,
them,
is that a board member?
it could be, yes. Usually it would be your Open Meetings Act designee, by the way.
Okay.
And the, how the process would go is we'd identify a whole bunch of stuff that we would want to keep, want to get rid of. We would list what we want to get rid of, tell the state this is what we intend to get rid of. And if they don't come back objecting, then we would get rid of it on the day that we put on the application.
Okay. This memorandum that is, that we just saw tonight, we're obviously not voting on anything at this point as far as moving forward with the.
No, certainly not.
Okay. Because I think there's a lot that we need to discuss before we get to a point of,
Yes.
I hate to say consider, because we can always consider, but seriously consider going for a referendum.
This is only to give you an idea of the timing,
Okay.
what you would have to have done by X date.
One of the things I'd like for the board to consider, and I think it's extremely important before we run any referendums, is the identity of this fire department. And what I mean by that is that, are we gonna run a referendum with the idea that we're permanently gonna be a part-time fire department? All employees will be part-time except for the staff? Or is it going to be where, with the intentions of being, so that would make us a non-commissioned fire department? Do we have goals of making this a commissioned fire department? Now, John, you remember that at the time we passed the most recent referendum for the bond, and actually leaving PSI, I should say, let's back way up, leaving PSI and creating we have our own employees now. That situation was supposed to be just temporary. And then we had talked about going to a commissioned fire department down the road or do something, but it was a way to get away from PSI and have our own employees and have more control of salaries, time off, and things of that nature. But it was never intended to be a permanent fix. And I really think that and when I say identity, we need to determine if this can continue to be a part-time fire department, because every employee, like I said, from battalion chief down, are part-time employees. All right. And I think one of the biggest, I could go on about retention, I think is the biggest issue, obviously, that we have on this fire department. We're pretty good shape as far as firehouses, equipment. We're doing real well with that, but obviously it's the retention, being a part-time fire department, I think has a lot to do with it, our hiring process. There's just so many issues that we need to talk about before we get to the point of saying, okay, let's roll with this. I would suggest that we have a presentation, that we get the firemen involved to a certain point by, maybe they could do a little survey and give us some ideas of what they think would, help us resolve the problem of, or have a better job of retaining people. And obviously we need, as a board and the chief, have a conversation about that as well. But I think this situation is very complicated, and it's not, I understand, Jim, I understand there's nobody in this room agrees with you more about we need more money. And it's primarily for employees, because like you said, the bond itself has put us in pretty good shape. It paid off our debt, built a new firehouse, got a new ambulance, we've got new engines. But I hope everyone realizes that this is going to be a lot involved in order to justify to the citizens that, because we just had the referendum passed about 3 years ago, right? And to ask for more money, I think we need to be prepared to have, do a good presentation, get the citizens involved. So this is going to be a lengthy process. It's not something that we can do in a month or two. But first thing we got to do is decide our identity. What are we going to be for the next 10 years? Are we going to be a 10-year or a part-time fire department? And I think that has a long ways to go with retention. I don't think I have to explain that. So, Jim, I agree with you. You brought it up the other night. It's not that I don't agree with you. We need more money, but I just want to make sure that we do it right and have a business plan, if you will, or something that we will have put a lot of time in and to justify this referendum. And it's not going to just take 2 people. It's going to take the whole board to get involved in order to, and of course, your staff, to get something like this passed, because I think it's going to be a hard sell right now with the economy and such, all the other things going on. So once again, don't misunderstand me. I'm in favor of a referendum if we can justify it to the public and have all our data. If we need to have an analysis of this fire department, or what's the word? I brought it up the other night.
An actuary?
An actuary done. Then those are conversations we need to have and figure out what we need to do. So I hope everyone understands and support what I have to say, and I know at what point in time we can go further into discussion. I mean, we got a actual time frame to get this done. So it's not something that we can wait 2 or 3 months and start talking. We need to start talking now. And And if we need to make committees, two-man committees, to do research, to bring to the board, to make it easier for everybody, and everybody get involved, that would be my recommendation. So I hope everybody respects what I have to say here and understand where I'm coming from. That's it as far as that goes. Okay. One more thing, I promise. So the censure that I got from the previous board. Obviously, it's up to this current board if they want to continue to honor that or not. Whatever your decision is, I'm going to ask all of you to do me a favor and do this fire department a favor. Read it and understand what currently what I'm limited to do as far as a board member, and understand what that censure means. And at the end of the day, it's the 5 board members or the 4 board members that makes that decision, nobody else. Am I right?
When you say the 4 board members, which one are we referring to?
Well, I guess I count myself out.
Right.
Right, because
Correct. I mean, it's the board as a whole that makes decisions about these things.
correct. That's what I mean. So that's why it's important for the other board members to read it, understand it. It's not up to the staff to try to enforce it. It's up to the board to enforce the censure if that's what you want to do. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks. Thanks for your time.
I'm gonna jump back to what you mentioned about the committees. I think that's a good idea. So maybe we can, start to put some things together, and maybe like a list of things that, that I'll rely on some of you guys that have gone through it on the last one too. Some input and stuff like that, and we can start to disseminate the tasks. So we start putting things together. Like you said, it's not gonna be something we throw together in 2 months. So let's start kind of like stacking it, and then, be conscious of our timing and go from there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. With that said, it is 6:42. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Hey, real quick, I went to an event Sunday. I went to that polar plunge that was put on by St. Charles PD and Fire Department for the Special Olympics. And they had St. Charles dive team there and stuff, for obviously for the swimmers and stuff. But I heard some nice compliments on our department. And I just want to pass that forward and share it. So, I mean, I wasn't a trustee or anything there. I was just hanging out. And it was cool to hear that.
Good.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good guys.
All right, anything else? Every time I call adjourn, you guys pop in there. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Will you take the roll? We're all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, 6:43, we are adjourned. Thank you. Next meeting is April 14th. at 6.